Yeah.
See the
Yeah,
live stream.
I got back to a totally dead battery in my car, and it was
Ooh,
blocking the other car. So it was only
of
finally this
course.
morning.
Oh, we feel so bad for you that you took such a long trip.
It's only funny. Yeah, okay. Now I'll let everybody in here.
Not yet.
Well, Jan, how did you get it out?
Oh,
Oh,
how
that's
did I
probably
what?
no, okay. That's probably Bruce.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
going by.
I'll change mine.
That's all right. We know.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start the meeting. Looks like we have about 54 people. Good evening, Hammond North. It's May 28th. This is the rescheduled meeting from May the 27th as a result of making sure that we had a quorum of board members here. Um, it's 6:02 p.m. and we will call the meeting to order and we'll go through the attendance. Tracy Smiley,
Here.
Randy Bond,
Here.
Gil Patton,
Here.
Chris Conti,
Here.
Dan Welsh,
Here,
and John Morowitz is in parts unknown. So we will go ahead and go through the first thing on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have a series of minutes that Gil um, provided for us in Randy's absence. May the 6th, May the 9th, May the 13th, May the 16th, and May the 21st. And those meeting minutes were all distributed. And I'm asking for any updates, revisions, or responses to those minutes. Okay, given there's none, I would like to entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll move to approve those.
Randy,
I'll second.
give a second. Any other discussion on the minutes? Yes, Gil.
I'll be glad to pass these back to Randy.
I
Oh,
bet you would. Yeah.
didn't waste any time bailing, did you? Okay. Okay. Based on that, all those in favor of the approval of the minutes? 6-0. Okay. Um, Next thing on the agenda is Tracy to talk about treasurer's report and budget committee report and where we stand on those items.
All right, thanks, Tim. So first I'll give the treasurer reports. So for the month of April, the operating account ending in the month of April had approximately $168,845.79. The reserve account has $15,516,839.83. That brings the total current assets to $16,932.32.71. The prepaids ending in April was approximately $43,188.39. And on these reports, I also add the delinquency. So as of May 11th, total delinquency amount is $778,000. $1,685, and that is a total number of owners of 57.
Tracy, how does that compare to the previous delinquency report?
So the previous delinquency report, let me go back here. The previous delinquency report was 770, so it is up 8,000. $685, which we are seeing some slow growth in delinquencies. Some of the owners have larger balances, and although those are compounding, the growth that we're seeing with new owners being delinquent is not as great. So um, I think things are turning around right now. I shouldn't say turning around, the delinquencies are slowing.
Okay.
As far as the finance committee met last Monday, and what we worked on in that meeting, we have one coming up actually this Monday, so 2 Mondays ago. We meet every 2 weeks, and what we've worked on is the new year budget. We have actually taken the time to go line item by line item through the income and the expenses. We've vetted through most of those with the entire team. I believe there's still some outstanding rationale around our utility costs. I know, Tim, I think you were going to be working on something with Greg to get a rate associated with our current building condition versus what we saw last budget season. So once we get that updated, the goal is to share the budget in our next monthly regular scheduled board meeting. But I will take that to the next board meeting so owners can weigh in and then have questions, or if there's any updates that we need to make on the fly, we can also do that as well. So that is going well. I sent the financials out to the finance committee. There were a few questions, but all in all, from a financial perspective, we are operating in a positive for the month. Again, we're doing well on the income side as of right now, and so once we set that budget going into next year, we'll have a better understanding of where we land there. We do have a big expense coming up, which is the building insurance. And so I believe Greg and or Tim is going to be working on securing that right before the budget season starts. And so obviously, if there's any differences in what we paid the previous year, which was approximately $580,000, then we'll make that change going into the new budget season as well, and we'll reflect that.
Yeah, I've got that rough draft of the utilities done, Tracy. I'm going to run
Okay.
through it tomorrow morning, and then I'll forward it to you.
Okay, perfect. And then since we'll be meeting on Monday, we'll make any changes or updates with the committee.
All right. Any questions from the board for Tracy? I did fail to mention in the beginning of the meeting that we do have chat is disabled, but we will entertain questions from the owners as they come up. Okay, given no questions right now, the next item on the agenda is the property management report. Greg, do you have any updates that you want to give us on what's going on in the property right now?
Thanks, Tim. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, just a few this evening. And I know it's been a little bit of a concern, and rightly so, about the mowing schedule. So our inaugural seasonal mowing will actually occur tomorrow, and then we'll be on the 2-week rotational schedule as contracted going forward. And just kind of give a little bit of a background to it. The contract wasn't signed until the 1st of May. So by the time that the company actually received it, it was about either the 4th or the 5th of May, because that was late on a Friday. And then it typically takes 2 weeks to 3 weeks for these companies to get, a new account or any account that's just recently contracted onto a schedule, compounded with the season and the weather we've had to date. That pushed it back longer than it anticipated. So we were in constant communication with them. They thought that they would be able to get us on the schedule last week, which would have put us put about 3 weeks after the contract, so it would have been pretty much on schedule, but the weather bumped it again. So weather's finally more favorable, and we'll have that completed tomorrow and every 2 weeks thereafter. And then we've had a little bit of a few comments on security in the lobby area, and we had our cameras removed in that space after the after the construction started. So we have added several ring type cameras in there, so we're able to monitor that as needed. So we have added some additional security in the lobby and the front entrance area. And in addition to that, we have prepped the chiller and the cooling tower, but we have held back from starting anything up right now. One, the weather hasn't really been too much of a challenge other than a few days. So the only thing that we've done is provided some circulating air on the north and west south side, and trying to hold off on increasing the electrical cost as much as we possibly can. So we're going to hold off on activating the chiller as long as we can, but it's ready to go. We've cleaned out the cooling tower, the reservoirs, the chiller's been PM'd, so it's ready to go if we absolutely need to. And beyond that, I think that concludes my report. Tim, I'll turn it back to you.
Randy?
Yeah, Greg, I happened to drive by the building today, and the weeds around the sign out on Hamilton Avenue, are they going to be able to like weed eat some of that, or pull those, or do any of that, or are they only just going to mow the grass?
We'll make sure that they address that as well, Randy.
Okay.
Tracy?
Oh, Gil, did you have your hand up first?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Greg, I think we talked about this, I want to say late last year, but we talked about securing the building even further, especially since, no owners are in the building. Is there an opportunity for us to be able to turn off key fobs? That way, when we talk about security and talk about, people coming in and out of the building, um, if that's an option. I know the finance committee talked about it, and we had conversations a while ago, but is that something that we could look into?
Yes, and we currently are. We could
Okay.
selectively deactivate, and we would just keep those active as directed by the board. We've had difficulty getting into the system earlier this week when we were trying to look to see if we can do that in bulk or if we have to do it individually.
Mhm.
And since we're not, we had to reach out to the IT company that services that equipment, and we're in the process of waiting right now for them to come in and take a look at it with us.
Okay, thank you. Just let us know.
Yeah, we'll do.
Gil?
On that subject, Greg, do you have a time when they're going to get back to you? Did they tell you how long it was going to take for them to reach back out?
They're looking at next week, actually. I don't have a specific date, but they thought that they would be able to get a date next week.
Wow. That's a seriously long time for IT. I have some other questions. I
mean,
see
it's
there's
functioning. I'm
a
sorry,
tree
Gil.
down, or a tree came down on Hamilton Avenue that I think is on our property, but I'm not sure. Are you aware of that?
It
Somebody came
across.
along, probably from the city, and cut it short of the sidewalk.
Yeah, it fell across the Hamilton Avenue. I think it was on Saturday or Friday night, and the city and the fire department took care of it.
Do we need to do anything with what's still remaining on the hill? Because it could slide out of there, could it? Or has anybody looked at that?
We haven't really looked at that closely, but we can look at that, Gil. I don't know that
Okay.
we need to do anything right now, but we'll revisit that.
Yeah, I just don't want us to get into a liability issue because we didn't address it.
Is that our property or the city's property?
That hillside above the high wall is part of Hammond North's property. That low wall is actually part of the city and part of Leboido Park or Woods.
So this tree that came down is on our property?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Did,
So another question I have is, in this not starting up the chiller yet, is there any kind of humidity monitors in the building so we can make sure that we're not getting excess humidity?
There isn't that we have, at our disposal. We're just simply watching to see if right now there's any humidity. We have not experienced that. And by not turning it on and keeping the air flowing and with the outside temperature, we haven't had any concern about humidity to this point. Now, once we turn it on, there's potentially going to be a concern, so we'll have to watch for that.
Once temperatures consistently get into the 80s, it can be an issue.
I agree.
And then on these Ring cameras, you say there's more than one?
Yes.
Are they both pointed at the desk, or is there
Yes.
another one?
One's at the desk and one's kind of more towards the entrance.
Okay. And who has access to those?
The president of the company and I do.
Okay.
The security company, I mean, but yeah.
That's all the questions I've got.
Sally, do you still have a question?
no, mine was regarding the tree that fell.
Okay.
And will we get a bill from the city because it blocked a whole lane of traffic. It was quite a large tree that came down.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
We haven't received any notification that would be the case.
Am I correct that the retaining wall is the responsibility of the city?
It is.
Thank you.
John Webb?
Yeah, with the Ring cameras, I'm curious, since you gave to the security company, do we fully trust them to really monitor their employees? I mean, are they going to hide something? Because with the Ring camera, you can go in and easily delete a video. So that's why I'm curious why we decided to give the security company access to that when we're trying to monitor their own employees and they've been, well, I don't want to go into the details. We know what's been happening, most people.
I'm comfortable that they would actively monitor that and wouldn't shield anything if something were to happen. They've been pretty proactive with any time that we've had a concern or that we needed something addressed. They've been pretty transparent and proactive, so I don't have any reason to believe it otherwise.
Okay. Next thing on the agenda is vendor agreements. Groundskeeping, Greg has pretty much talked about where we are on that. Property management, Chris, would you like to talk about that?
I will do that. We have received a contract from Town Properties, which is a 1-year contract with a 60-day termination clause, no penalty termination clause. And I've sent the agreement out to all of you, noting the changes from the current contract. And there were a few questions that I also addressed. So I don't have anything to say beyond that. If you have questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
No, the only thing I want to say is that Chris has done a great job on working with Pound on working out the different clauses in the contract, and I think we're at a point now where we have agreed to all the minute details that have to be in the contract, and we're ready to sign it. It does expire this weekend, and we need to have the new contract in place by June the 1st. Any board questions? Gil?
Chris, did you get a response concerning that question on an employee?
I did, and I put that in my email. Um, when I sent that out, that was in the email.
What you had in the email said that town was going to see what they could do to make that happen, but we haven't got a response about whether or not they did or did not.
That is correct.
Jan,
So do we need to be voting on signing this?
We do. We need to have a
Tonight?
motion to approve it.
okay,
I'll move that we sign the contract that Chris sent out.
we have a motion, we have a second. Tracy? Any board discussion? Any owner discussion? Okay. We'll call the vote on Jan's motion to approve the town property contract that Chris forwarded to all of us. All those in favor? Looks like 6-0. Thank you very much. Next topic that we wanted to talk about is insurance, and that is an ongoing discussion. I think for the most part, John and Randy and me to a minor extent have been working with Treehouse in the past on that, and Tracy. So we that is underway, and as always, I'm sure it will come down to the last minute.
So you're not aware if there's any meetings or anything set up on that?
I am not aware. I just know John has talked to Treehouse on a couple of occasions when he gets back. In order to maintain the continuity, I would like to have him champion that discussion with them early next week.
Yeah, he had me in some of that as well. So
Yeah.
Okay.
I think John and Randy have been the main communicators on that, but there have been other people in and out, Tracy and me and you. So very good. D&O insurance. This is something else that we need to talk to Treehouse about in order to make sure that we get the D&O insurance. Our current insurance company has denied us a policy going forward. So Treehouse will have to find us another D&O insurance company. That will be part of that discussion early next week.
Of course, it's the clock is going to be ticking really, really quickly. So if there's like updates or anything you need to send Tim, or if I'm there or Randy, with Dree House, I can step away and help out so I can at least get it into the budget planning. So just let me know.
Yeah, I will escalate that as soon as we can next week.
Okay, thank you.
In terms of legal discussions, the Porter litigation, okay, excuse me, John Webb.
Yeah, as far as insurance, I know we're all anxious for that, but my experience has been, especially after the fire when I was on the board, is that number one, Treehouse is just a broker trying to get quotes from different ones, and you're probably not going to get that until the day of or day after. I remember the past 2 times it was like right at the dot. So I know we all want it, and we all want our hopes up to get it so we can plan, and everybody's anxious about what does that mean, but you're probably not going to get in most cases until the day of. So for the people of the condo ownership, I just wanted to share that with you, my experience.
Yeah, it will come down to the last minute as it has in all the past years. I just want to make sure that Treehouse is giving us some updates on where they stand and what they have done. Gil?
Where will the funds come out of? Will they come out of operating? Will they come out of reserves for the building insurance?
So that is something that we discussed with a legal. We have talked about the opportunity to take that building insurance portion out of reserve funding. Um, there was a yes to that question. I think I shared this with the finance committee. Um, due to it being building insurance and not monthly operating expenses, they said they can stand behind that. So once we get that information at the last minute, we'll work with all the board members to vet the contract, look at the amounts, get it in the budget, and work towards like we did last year to get it paid.
I'm not sure who Samsung SMA1 is, but you're up.
Yes, it's Mick Parker.
Hi, Mick.
Hi. The question I have is not immediately addressing what is currently being spoken about, and the reason for that is, I was having trouble uh, gaining access to the process or the options as to how to get my hand raised. So it refers to a previous topic, and I'll defer to your direction as to whether or not I can ask it now or wait till a later time.
We like you, Mick. We'll let you go.
Well, that's generous of you. I appreciate that. It has to do with the key fob and the possible deactivation of the key fobs. And I'm in the habit of dropping off my monthly condo fee. So I'm wondering if the key fobs are deactivated, will I know when they can be activated so that I can go there at the time in which they're activated, assuming that the guard is not at their post when I get there?
Mick, what we're talking about doing with the key fobs is we're talking about deactivating the remote entrances, not the main entrance. What we want to do is we want to try to deactivate the GT entrance, the LL entrance, the dock entrance, the pool entrance. We want to deactivate those so that they are not easily accessible. The only way you can get into the building is through the front. I don't think we have an intention of deactivating the fobs to the front entrance. And that's what Greg is looking for, to see if we have the flexibility to do it that way or not. And the system is a bit antiquated, and it's got some flexibility, but it doesn't have total flexibility. And then when they went to get into it this week to try to work on that, they had some server issues, and that's what they're working on right now. They're trying to solve these server issues with the key fob security. But it's not the intention to deactivate the front entrance. It's to deactivate the remote entrances.
Okay, I think I appreciate that clarification, and I appreciate your liking me.
All right. Next set of items are the legal issues. I guess Porter litigation, that's been mainly John, but I can speak to that there has been not much going on that lately. We have been totally concentrating on getting the PSA and getting Mike Stacy involved in getting involved in the building. We will recontact our attorneys on the Porter litigation probably starting next week, now that we've got some progress on the PSA and working with Mike. The Burnham settlement, Gil, you probably know the most about this, don't you? The Burnham settlement.
Last communication I saw from the attorneys indicated that the settlement agreement as it was written was being reviewed by all the parties. And I believe there was one insurance company who had some questions. And I believe John also had some questions that he was having Julie look into. Have heard or seen no response to those emails. as to an update on that progress. We need to contact Julie and get an update on that.
Okay. Next item is Unit 606 Diane Seaward litigation. Where we are on that is Julie filed a motion to dismiss that case. And there is a hearing next week on that case. It was reactivated at the last minute, and Julie has filed a motion to have it dismissed again. Gil?
I put that on the agenda that there's a hearing to dismiss that next week. I could have sworn that I saw that in an email. I searched like crazy to verify that today and cannot find that. So it's another point we need to go back to Julie and find out. But unless it was in a conversation with her, maybe she said that it was the week of June 1st that they were going to have that hearing.
Okay, so let's put it this way. What we can say for sure is that Julie has filed a motion to dismiss. And we will find out when the hearing is.
And if I can, the other defendant in that litigation, which was Safeco, theirs was already dismissed.
Okay.
So 3 of the 4 parts of that litigation have been dismissed. We're the only ones hanging out there. And of course, we're asking for it to be dismissed as well.
Tracy?
No, I was just going to mention that we received the Finney invoices that I will share with the board. And I think in our next upcoming board meeting, I'll present those to make a motion, but you'll get them shortly.
Okay. Last thing under legal is partition process. I know there are some proceedings going through that are due to be consummated in June. Jan, do you have anything that you want to add to that? You are muted.
Right. No, I haven't heard any updates.
Okay. We know there's a date in June where some
that's the filings.
filings do.
Yeah.
Right. Gil?
And we're still waiting for Chris Finney's response that he gets from the judge on the question about how the partition and a private sale would work together.
The only
as
other
far as
thing,
being able to continue with the private sale and slow down the partition without impacting anything. So we're trying to get an answer on that. They've gone to the judge and we talked about that at the last meeting, so we're still waiting for that response.
I can follow up with Chris on that if you want.
that would be great.
Okay.
The only other tertiary piece of information about that is I have been in contact with Colliers. I'm working with Colliers on the appraisal and trying to get the appraisal revised. I've spent a bunch of time. There are a bunch of invoices, confusing invoices. I think I've got it sorted out. Now I'm just coming up with a break point on what what we have done to improve the building since the Colliers appraisal was done. There were several months of work and somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 or $6 million that was spent between TRS and Hunt in terms of improving the building. So we're trying to negotiate that appraisal with Colliers right now. Next item on the agenda is sale of the building. I will give a brief update and you can supplement. We had a meeting with Mike Stacy and Art Dahlberg, Gil and I yesterday. The meeting was cordial and went well. Mike was looking to have the permits reinstated. Art Dahlberg's exact quote, I think, Gil, was, "I can't breathe life back into those permits. They have to be reissued." Um, Mike is working with the architect that did the plans, which is helpful in terms of reinvigorating these permits. He also, Art Dahlberg promised him that he would give him copies of all the other mechanical permits that were filed. And Mike Stacy is going to contact those vendors to see if he can work with them, as that would be the easiest way to breathe life back into those permits. So over the next couple of weeks, Mike has told us that he will be contacting those vendors to see what he can do to reopen those permits. Gil, please add what you would like to add.
I think the only thing I would add to that is Art said that once they get those drawings resubmitted with the current date, that they should be able to get them through the building department in 10 days,
Oh,
which I thought was pretty exciting news.
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, I think he's interested in getting the building going. It's I'm hoping that Mike can work with the current vendors. I think that's the only sticking point, is if he has to go off course with some new people. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. He did tell us that he will be working with those mechanical suppliers as quickly as he could in the next couple of weeks. So I'm hoping that within the next month or so, we'll know where we are on the permit.
Great.
And
You
that,
want,
yes.
do you want to go into some more details on where we are in the PSA process?
Okay. Yes.
Um,
Yeah. Go ahead and talk about what's going on.
we've accomplished a couple things, and we're working on getting the information that we have to pass on to Mike. And there were 5 things that we had to give to them. One was the title reports, and he's asked us to hold off on that until we have all 180. He's asked about survey drawings. That was number 2. He picked those up on Wednesday. And then there were plans, specs, reports, and warranties. Greg's putting all that together on a couple of thumb drives, which Mike is going to pick up on Friday. So we basically have that point resolved. And then I think, let's see, June 8th, I believe, June 6th or to June 8th, Mike has to show us the financing confirmation. And on the 1st, he has to deliver his earnest money.
So, and we're waiting for him to name a title company, because we have to have a title company to hold that earnest money, right?
Exactly.
Right.
That's part of that. It has to be done by the 1st.
And that's the time when the deeds committee will reactivate, I assume? When we get to that point?
Yeah, somewhere in the beginning of June, we'll reactivate the deeds committee.
The other time point is on June 8th. Mike has to raise any issues with the consent to sales that we sent to him on May the 22nd.
Yeah, I got some correspondence about that today, and some of the links don't remain active when they've been re-forwarded. So Brandy was sending them their own clean copies, and his assistant as well. So that happened today.
So they got the passwords today?
Passwords. They got
Whatever
their
it is,
own. They got their own direct copy today. Well, I'm not sure that the second guy did, or Meredith. I don't know if that's a man or a woman, but Deeds got his today, and the request went out to Brandy to send out the other one around 4 o'clock. I'm not sure if that went out today.
Should we restart the clock as of today? Sounds like we probably should, because he gets set so many, I forget what it is, 10 days, something like that.
Well,
So,
Jan, you said you sent them, right? Brandy? To Brandy?
Send them to John Deeds. I don't know
Oh,
why
John.
he
Yeah.
couldn't just forward them, but he may have thought, well, it may not work. I think that there was a time issue related to some of that as well. I'm not sure that they have to have a password. I think if they forwarded it, probably will work, but it'll be straightened out within 24 hours, I'm sure.
So at least John Dees has them,
Oh, yeah,
which that's who needs them. Okay.
right.
And for those who are listening, John Deeds is Mike Stacy's attorney.
Right.
so Jan, if I understand you correctly, by tomorrow, they will have full access to those.
John Deeds already has it, and I can't control what Brandy does, but I have full expectation that she'll send that out. Send the copy, the direct copy to Meredith tomorrow.
Okay, so John Deeds has had access since when?
Today, earlier, fairly early. I can't remember what time.
Okay, and I'll reset that on the timeline.
Okay.
The other thing is, just to cover it, we have had a number of requests for a copy of the PSA. What we are trying to do is we are trying to assemble a nice, clean copy because things went on electronically. There were copies and PDFs and all that kind of stuff flying around in order to get this done in a timely fashion. So John Morowitz will be back early next week. He personally signed the PSA. Mike Stacy personally signed the PSA. What we're trying to do is we're trying to assemble a nice, clean copy of all the wet signatures to distribute to people. So unfortunately, that might take a couple of days, but we have your requests on file. I think Gil has tried to respond to you in terms of the fact that it may take a few days to get it to you, but that's where we stand with the requests for copies of the PSA, is that as soon as we get a good, clean copy, we will forward that to the people who have requested it. And one of the things that we really want to stress is that this is a very confidential document and it should not be shared with anybody other than the requester. So thank you in advance for treating this with a high degree of confidentiality. Dan.
So will people have to sign a confidentiality statement or not?
What my suggestion is that we put a statement on the email that says, as a result of you receiving this PSA, you agree that it is a confidential document. We're not looking for a return signature. We're just basically saying, we're sending this to you with the understanding that you acknowledge that it's a confidential document.
And could you explain why it's confidential? I think some people won't understand that, or to what degree?
Because we don't necessarily want all the, we don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know, we're hoping that this goes through with Mike. If it doesn't go through with Mike, we may end up with negotiation with other people. We don't want all the terms. We don't want all the terms out there so that somebody can come in and start negotiating the terms that we've already negotiated. Price, timing, all that kind of stuff. I mean, once you see the PSA, you'll see that it's a very, very extensive document, and there's a lot of stuff that we don't necessarily want out in the free verse.
Thank you.
Are there any other issues that need to be talked about right now? Gil?
That we had some text going back and forth about meeting next week. I think we may want to go ahead and continue to have that set. If we don't need it, we can cancel it. But there's some things that may come up, especially if some of these dates don't get met. We'll have to discuss how we're going to address that.
I agree. There's some things that are coming up in short order. So I agree. We tentatively have a meeting next week. If progress doesn't come forward on everything, we will cancel it and move it to another time. Randy,
Perfect.
can you open Lynn up?
Okay, there you go.
Okay. I just want to, I know it's almost the end of the meeting. I want to say it's been a positive meeting. We've had a lot of good exchange of information. I am hoping that in the budget talks and also executive session that we could address HOA fees. I think that you've got almost 30% of your population that are not paying. You said 57. I think we need to go to the basic minimum and use reserves for budget money. It belongs to all of us, and we are in a survival mode. We've never been in this position, and I don't know what the documents actually state, but I think it's time to look at it as survival. We cannot keep paying this money monthly, and I think the budget needs to be for the first 6 months starting July 1. The HOA fee should be much, much lower July 1. And again, I'm not privy to the town contract, but I certainly hope they're not increasing it. They have done nothing for us. Judd Oshowitz is in charge of our building. He doesn't attend meetings. John Morowitz doesn't even know him or hasn't met him. I am very concerned the town is bleeding us. They've never offered any housing to anybody, considering how much housing they own in this city. We had people in the 08 stack that were homeless. They weren't offered any deals by town. So I really think we have to look at everything. We're in survival mode. This is a critical stage, and we cannot keep paying HOA fees and just skimming along. We've got to really lower it and be sensitive to the owners who are paying. So, it sounds like a sermon, but I really hope that you guys will consider using the reserves and stop bleeding everybody for a monthly fee, or at least do a minimal monthly fee. Okay, that's all. You can mute me again.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Lynn.
What I can say, and I'm sure Tracy might have something to add to this, is I don't attend the finance committee meetings all the time. I've tried to attend a few of them as we go along, but this is always a very lively discussion in the finance committee. Tracy,
Always.
anything
So absolutely. Thanks, Lynn, for that. We are looking at all possible avenues to reduce fees. We've reduced them twice already. But what we need to do is the same analysis that I did last year to look at the delinquent owners and the amount that's not going towards the operating expenses because of that delinquency, and set the budget, which we have to set based upon the expense and the expectation of income. So we're working through that as we speak. As I mentioned, we'll present that to the official board meeting late June, early July, once we get the insurance numbers. We've also had discussions around paying out the insurance money out of the reserves to an extent. We're working through, and I believe I announced this last time, we're working through a scenario of how we can do that. The challenges are the mortgage companies. So the challenge is the mortgage company has the first right as they are creditors. And so we need to figure out what legalities we will run across when it comes to those who have mortgages, and then for those who also have delinquencies, and then those who don't. So there's scenarios that we're working through that, once we get a little bit further along, I'd like to bring back to the board.
The other thing that I want to add is not only the mortgage companies, but we also have to work through any reserves that we need to maintain as a result of litigation.
Right.
That's another number that we have to come up with along the
Right.
way.
Plus, we also have the legal, to your point, Tim, we also have legal expenses associated on a monthly basis. As I just talked about, the invoices that we're going to have to pay. So we will have to hold some of those funds back based upon those two things. So I definitely hear you, Lynn. We're addressing every sort of scenario we can to get this to the point where, you know, we're not paying so much in HOA fees.
I would let me say this. Other than the PSA that we have been working on, I mean, I don't even know how many emails and how many conversations and how many discussions we've had on the PSA the last couple of weeks. I would say the second highest topic that we have been discussing is how we can either distribute some funds or eliminate some expenses.
Right.
John Webb.
So we'll discuss this in the finance committee, but I think it's important everybody hear this. There are a lot of people not paying their dues, and you're probably looking at 200,000 or so, give or take there, Tracy. You can keep me honest on that one. I'm guesstimating on that. But is it my responsibility to pay for their dues and that, or should that come from reserves? Right now, you know, we were talking about doing a bad debt expense where they're living free. They're not paying their dues. And I get there's reasons why they can't. There's not any reasons. And then that's falling on all the rest of us to pay our dues and we're supporting the expenses. But if we put that bad debt expense, we're footing their bill. And I get that in the end, when the place is sold and there's money, we'll get it back. But why is that for us to pay their bills? And I think that's something we need to consider because quite frankly, it irritates me that I'm having higher dues or will have higher dues because other people are choosing not to pay. There's some that can't, and I get that, but still, that's all I'll say.
Thank you.
Gil.
I'm searching for a word to put my hand up. Tracy, is there anybody working with you? Is there a group of us that are working with you to develop a plan for this distribution?
Yes. So I sent an email around. First, I just want to tell the board that I've sent examples and scenarios, as I mentioned before, as to the percentage of ownership that the payouts will be based on, and then think about those who have mortgages and then those who have delinquencies. So those are the first two considerations. The scenarios I sent out to the entire board a few weeks back. And then I've also sent another email out because we had a meeting with Isaac. I believe Chris was on that meeting, and I want to say Tim, around what's possible. Maybe we're thinking of, you know, creating some type of form because payments will have to be sent to mortgage companies. The delinquencies will have to be paid back to figure out what that looks like. So I think Chris, you sent an email saying you would assist. Tim, you've already been a part of those conversations. And so I sent and Jan as well, if we have to do the consent. I sent an email out asking everyone what was a good day and time where we can set up recurring meetings to keep having these conversations and to try to get something started as soon as possible. That is high priority after the PSA, to Tim's point. Right now we have approximately $16 million in reserves, and it will be great if we could distribute a large portion of that so people can pay off their mortgages and pay down their dues. And then, you know, once we sell the building, then that'll be, you know, the proceeds that they will get as well. And so that would give a lot of us relief to be able to do that. We just need to work through how we execute that. That will be a ton of work, but we're working on it. So please reply to my email for those who I've sent to.
It's a complicated process, and we have to make sure we cover ourselves in terms of the legalities associated with it.
Yeah.
But back to my question, who else is working with you on this? I mean, you've sent it out to the board. So it's Chris and who else?
Tim and Jan.
Okay.
Myself. We will.
So are you meeting? Okay, so you're going to set up a meeting to work on this. Okay, it's coming to me now.
Yes, I sent the email
Um,
out maybe 3 days ago on what's a good day and time to meet to set up a recurring meeting.
and I did send an email back with some of my concerns.
I read them.
I'm concerned about whether or not we're going to get our delinquency monies if we pay it out to the owners.
That's where speaking with legal, we have a solve for that. So that's something I need to respond to your email. There is a solve for that.
Okay, be interested in seeing that. Thank you.
I think it might be in my email as one of the bullet points. Go back and check it out, and if not, I'll ping you separately
It wasn't.
about the consent.
I just take a look at my response, and it's all in there.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Seeing as we have reached the end of the agenda and the end of questions, looking for a motion to adjourn to executive session to,
In an executive session, we're going to talk about
we're going to talk about the consent.
I'd like to add the
No, not-
delinquency. Go ahead.
consent. The items that we have is the consent to sell documentation in order to satisfy Mike, order litigation, and then you wanted to add something?
The delinquency report.
So did we have our move to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll
Chris,
second.
Dan seconds. All those in favor? 6-0. Hammond North, thank you very much for your attention and cooperation, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.